Hi there, it's Catherine from Sunnyside Journals with a little flip through today. Thanks for visiting. I'm going to sit down and get comfortable. Hopefully, I don't bounce the phone around too much. I'm finished. Poems of Action. I'm really happy with how this little book turned out. This is the book, if you follow me on Instagram, this is the book that I Frankensteined a refurbished spine onto it. This actually was a Reader's Digest Book of Birds, and it was actually quite a long book, and so I just cut the length that I needed and Frankensteined it onto these front and back covers and reinforced it with Tyvek, and I'm really happy with how that turned out, and I will absolutely be doing it again. I'm absolutely now going to be making sure I also save the spines from books that are still in good condition, books that I have perhaps just used for fussy cutting and usually only wanted the interior. And now I will be saving the spines so that I can add them onto other older books where I would either want to make the spine bigger or perhaps that one is falling apart. This book is from 1929. And it has, wait before I open it, it has 3 signatures in it. It has a hollowback spine, and it has these little doohickeys, and I don't know what they're called. Hopefully someone watching can leave a comment for me and tell me what these are called. I just call them doohickeys, but I like how they look. I think they give a nice finished look when you do a hollowback spine. And I'm sure I could find out because I learned how to do this through Nick the Booksmith, and she's a very thorough teacher. And I'm sure it's mentioned somewhere in the video, but it's gone out of my head. So anyhow, there are 3 signatures with 40 pages in each. That's 120 pages. Whew. Oh, I'm not good at math anymore. That hurts my brain. So inside, I added new end papers. The old end papers were quite plain. They weren't that bad condition, but they weren't pretty like this. So I added new end papers. And I added a sort of like an ex libris card. I fussy cut this out of another book, but the colors fit perfectly for this little book with the turquoises and the oranges and yellows. So it got a new home in this book. And I put a little tuck spot. This is the original front page. And it has on the back the copyright date, 1929. So I saved that for the new owner. They can do as they wish with it. In you go. That's good. The front page, I made a window out of an antique window from an antique photo album. And then I made a little journaling card here that says delightful. And actually, there's 2 ladies enjoying tea here. This lady here is Laura Ingalls Wilder. So it was from a book, a biography on her, and it was full of beautiful black and white and sepia-toned photographs that I fussy cut. So Laura Ingalls Wilder and her family are going to be in a lot of my books for a little while. I got a lot of beautiful photos. So there's actually another one in this one when we get to it. This book is mostly very simple and elegant, I like to say. And not a lot of fluff and fuss. There's not pop-outs and fold-outs and things like that. It's very simple and elegant. It's all tea-dyed. All of it is my tea-dyed paper. Various kinds. You'll see ledger paper, and this is from a gardening journal. And then here and there, all I've done is added little Victorian pictures that I get from books. They have the copyright free reproductions. Lots of books use them now because they're copyright free. So I always watch for them when I'm buying books so that I can cut them up and use them. It's actually cheaper to buy one of these books for 50 cents than to buy at a craft store, to buy a kit of ephemera. And the fussy cutting is therapeutic, and it all gets repurposed. So there won't be a lot to talk about, although here we go. I've already found something to talk about. The previous owner of this book was Dorothy Grubb, and she had, not only did she write her name originally on the inside, so I wasn't sure whether to cover her name up or not, and then I decided to go ahead and cover up her name there because she was kind enough to leave a note inside the book about some of the poems that she read. So there's her little signature right there, Dorothy Grubb, 1E. I guess that was her high school form room. My 9th grade high school form room was 1J. Funny the little things you remember, eh? I still remember the phone number for the first house I lived in back in the day. This is Laura Ingalls Wilder, and this is Carrie Ingalls. So they make a little appearance in the book. So here we go. There's some just flip out areas on pages that were wide enough. This is from a guest book. Ledger paper. Again, the Victorian copyright free. This is Handel's Messiah. And then these are the other sides of those pages. Guest book page. Lots of room for journaling. This is a few of the pages from the original book. The preface that explains the poems that they chose. I read some of the poems. They really weren't my cup of tea for poetry. If I recall correctly, and I could be wrong, I believe this was Carolyn Ingalls' brother. And I can't remember his name. So more tea-dyed paper, more lace, lilacs. I liked this little couple. They're sort of canoodling on a fence, sitting on the fence canoodling, while there's a cow in the background hopping around. There's tabs on on the first page of all three signatures. And I left them blank on purpose so that the new owner can put whatever they like to put on their signatures. There were some blank pages on the end papers of this book, and the paper was still in very, very good condition, so I simply cut them into size for journaling cards for the next owner. This paper is fussy cut from a poem page from a 1962 Ideals book. And there actually was a whole oval of these flowers with the poem in the middle, and I fussy cut them all out, and then I even cut them up. So these make a few appearances in this book because the colors are perfect with the turquoise and the browns. So you'll see them again. This I made a bookmark out of the original spine. So that's how little it originally was. And then I was able to make it that big. Dragonfly. Ledger paper. Love ledger paper. A little apple. Here's some of that fussy cut again. This is a color photocopy of a letter I have. That was a letter from a woman named Sadie Congdon. And she wrote it to my great-great-grandmother, whose name was Annie Dorsey McKay. But back then you had to be proper in letters, so that's why it was addressed to Mrs. William Mackay, who was my great-great-grandfather. And they lived in Cooksville, Ontario. She was, Annie was born in 1859 in Cooksville, Ontario. So I included that because the back of it is still, you could journal on the back because I only color photocopied the front. So I included that as a little journaling spot. This is just a copy of a postcard that was in the Laura Ingalls book, and it's just held in with the photo corners, so you can remove it if you want, or you can and put something else in there. It's up to you. More journaling space. Little birds. Another little bird. This is the final signature. I love these papers. This is that gardening journal that I found for $1.50, and it's huge. I'll be using it for a long, long time, which I'm glad about. It's beautiful paper. There's more journaling space. More of these flowers from the Ideals book. This is a guest book page again. A little elf. More of that fussy cut from that poem. So again, most of my little additions to this book are just here or there, and they're flat and not conspicuous. They just add a little bit to the charm here and there. The new owner can do whatever they wish. If this is just for writing in, there's a blue jay, or if they choose to add their own ephemera. This is more of the paper from the end papers that were in the original book. I put eyelets in and used old seam binding. I love the color of this seam binding. It looks like at one point it must have been a mint green, and now it's just so it's faded into this beautiful faded frosty hint of mint green now, and I just love it. And I used the last of it on this book. So there you have it. That is Poems of Action, 1929 copyright date. This will be going in my Etsy shop, but as some of you may have learned, my Etsy shop is still on holiday hold. My husband and I have been really trying our best to get out and really make good use of our little travel trailer that we have. We have a little 21-foot trailer, and we've been getting out and enjoying camping with our little dog. So I just didn't see the point of trying to make promises that I would be able to get to the post office and get it shipped and, you know, provide good service in that way, and also be packing and running out and sitting in the woods somewhere in Ontario. So I made the decision. My shop is just on a holiday hold, and it will be opening again. I'm probably going to reopen it again after Labor Day weekend, so I guess that's in 2 weeks. And I actually have plans for when I reopen it, and I'm actually very excited about these plans, so I will be making a video about that maybe later this week. So thanks for visiting. I hope you enjoyed looking through Poems of Action. Thanks for taking the time. If you enjoy listening to me chatter on and on and on, think about subscribing and think about hitting like. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.